And the fat guy plops down in the chair. Greetings and salutations. Hi. Saw a guy at Costco today, and he goes, "Hey man," he said, "you're that Fuji guy. I bought a Fujifilm because I was always a big Nikon guy." I was like, "Oh really?" So I talked to him for a little while. It was really strange. It's like, just a putz on YouTube. There we go. Let me adjust my microphone properly. Yeah, microphone doesn't like my new shirt here. I had this question a bunch recently. There's someone that's shot the hell out of both of these cameras. We just talk about a few minor nuances, well there's more than a few, between the X100V camera and the Xpro3. Obviously both are made in Japan. Both of them, that contributes to the cost. People go, why does that camera cost so much? Like, why is an Xpro3 so much more expensive than the XE3? Well, number one, they're both made in, assembled anyway, in Japan. But what actually makes them more expensive is the little hybrid sub-assembly module. It's actually quite expensive and laborious to make those, and they're not made by machines. They're actually hand-assembled little intricate units, so that's actually the factor. We're looking at $1,400 versus $1,800 respectively, and that's not including the fancy finished ones that are essentially non-scratchable, So $400 difference, $1,400 versus $1,800. Let's talk about the X100V, or X100 Mark V advantages. I've owned the T and the F. There's significant upgrades over those, and I talked about that in the full review on this. Not only that, the lens is a lot sharper, but I mean, it is a fixed lens, not removable. So we're looking at a 23mm f2. And by the way, the 23mm f2 on this is way the hell sharper than the 23mm f2 removable, detachable lens made for the X-mount series of Fujifilm cameras. It's very compact, even significantly so over that of the Xpro3, which of course doesn't have a lens with it. It does have a built-in 4-stop ND filter. Iterations prior to this were a built-in 3-stop ND filter, and it literally is a drop-down physical filter. It's not like a digital effect or something. Also, too, has a leaf shutter. There are some downsides, but essentially none. Not realistically. It is for like high-speed sync, for flash photography, but you still have 1/4000th. But there's mostly only advantages off of a leaf shutter, and leaf shutter lenses are significantly more expensive, and there are significant advantages. You could use any flash. You could even pick up like a Nikon TTL flash and still sync at any shutter speed with the camera. 1/4000th, 1/2000th, and that's amazing. So absolutely any flash at any shutter speed will sync with the X100V. Also too, above regular sync speed over that, I hate it when people have loud cars, above the regular sync speed, you actually have more powerful flash capabilities, because in HSS flash photography, for any conventional camera, and you can't see it, but the actual speed light pulses very, very fast, and so it doesn't put out a lot of energy, and that's not something that occurs with a leaf shutter camera, which means that this tiny little dinky, on a regular camera this would be basically useless, but it's much more powerful. It has a lot more effectiveness because it doesn't pulse. You could shoot at any sync speed and drown out, in combination with the 4-stop ND filter, drown out the ambient illumination, and still at 15, 20 feet, still have sufficient subject illumination. And you can't do that with a conventional camera. So also too, you could stick it in perfect silent mode, and it's also perfect for unobtrusive street photography. The new iteration, of course, and I go over all this in the full review on the X100V, has a tilting screen. The 4K video on it's absolutely amazing. I'm trying to think of some other advantages over that of the Xpro3, but I mean, that is the short list. Form follows function. The question is, what do you want? This is a fixed lens. It's a wonderful camera. It's actually one of my favorite cameras of all time, literally. I am a big fan of the Xpro series. I still have my old Xpro 2. I don't know what I'm still holding on to it for, even though it's a great camera. Let's talk about the Xpro 3 advantages, and the advantages are a few, but they're extremely significant. The obvious, of course, is interchangeable lenses. You also have longer and more video functionality. Both of these actually have improved optical viewfinders, better for eye relief, especially for those people like me who wear glasses. They both take the exact same battery. This one does have dual card slots for data redundancy. That's incredibly important. Like I said, both of them are, this is not that it affects anything about the camera, it's titanium top and bottom plates. But you have a lot more versatility with this, obviously, and if you're going to take a trip and you want to take 2 or 3 different focal length lenses, you don't have that option with the X100V. All of these are the same image sensor, and the 26 megapixel backside illuminated sensor found in the Xpro3, also, in the X-T3, which will be in the X-T4, Xpro3, X100V. That's the current sensor in basically most all of the current X-mount Fujifilm cameras. Made a lot of tips and tricks on both of these cameras. They're both unique in their own rights, but as far as which one should you get, it's an extremely subjective question. Or you do mostly street and candid photography and you want something that's more simple yet extremely high quality. Both of these are high quality. I didn't say one was more high quality. Very high quality, and the lens is so much sharper than that of the X100F and T and S before it. Incredible little camera. Those are the significant differences between the two. The X100V has had some significant improvements, specifically the first articulating screen that's tiltable. And also both of these, well, you actually have to swivel down the screen on the Xpro3 to access the screen, but you actually have touch to autofocus on both of these. But you have direct access to that with the screen as it is on the X100V, and you don't have that on the Xpro3. But I don't care about that. This was, of course, you also too have a rear, basically a top panel display for all your sub-menus, and it's completely customizable on that on the Xpro3. But those are the significant difference between the two. Form follows function, and the question as far as which is best for you is, of course, dependent on what it is you want the most. Do you want a simple camera that is ready to go without any worry about changing lenses you could throw in your backpack and take everywhere with you? If you throw a lens on this, it's going to be significantly more obtrusive than the X100V is, but more ideal for travel photography in many senses, since you could pack 2 or 3 lenses with you, like say this. My favorite zoom lens now is definitely the 16 to 80 millimeter f4, but even this, the 18 to 135, which is a great zoom lens and actually has a better focal range for travel photography. And then the 16 millimeter 1.4, actually my 3 perfect travel lenses for any X-mount interchangeable lens camera would be the 16 to 80, the 16, well, it's significantly larger. I would actually choose the 8 to 16 millimeter, but that's a large lens. 16 millimeter 2.8, the 16 to 80, and definitely the 55 to 200 as a trio for travel anyway. Those are my picks. But I had a bunch of people ask this question about the primary distinction between that of the Xpro3 and the X100V, and there they are. Okay. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. And yeah. I feel so mellow. Maybe it's because I didn't have enough caffeine today. Maybe that's the reason. Yeah. I also think I got a fingerprint on the viewfinder of my Xpro3. I'm going to have to wipe that off after this video. Thank you. And goodbye. Peace out.